And welcome back to the Red and Gold Zone. It is time for my favorite segment, our keys to the game. And we are joined by our insider, Grant Cohn. Grant, thanks for joining us all season long. This is the last time we get to do this for the year. You know, I'm going to miss you, bro.
I'm going to miss you too, man. Let's do this.
All right, man. So let's just start with last week. You know, the Niners didn't have much to play for, but they've showed this season that they are still a team, regardless of the void of talent, the injury issues. They're still going to play hard, and they played hard last week. They got a good win. Do you think that's something where they can take forward to next year, momentum type of thing, or is it just, hey, they won a game, go next week?
No, I think they can take it forward in the next year. I mean, this is a team that sees itself as still an elite team in the NFL that had bad luck this year. Well, they needed to prove that. They can't just go into the offseason losing like 8 of 9. And what they proved against Arizona is they really do have an elite defense. They really do still have an elite run game. And if they can just get the right quarterback, this team could go back to being what it was last year. Now, CJ Beathard isn't the right quarterback. He was just managing the game, and they won a modest 20-12 game. But if you put in a real quarterback there, this team could be dominant again.
Yeah, now speaking of quarterback, it'll be a hot issue all offseason long, all summer long. Now, unless Kyle Shanahan is just an A1 poker player, he seemed like he's leaning towards keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that just coach's talk, or do you think he truly believes Jimmy G will be his quarterback next year?
I think it's coach's talk. I think he can say in December, I believe Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the quarterback on this team next year because he hasn't started scouting yet. He hasn't even really started looking at the college quarterbacks aside from what he's maybe caught on television. So in January, he's going to start looking at Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Kyle Trask. And by February, he might really like one of those guys. And then when the Niners get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and people say, Kyle, but you said you believed that Jimmy would be here last year. He said, well, at the time I did. Technically, I wasn't lying. I just didn't know these rookie quarterbacks yet. I got to know them. I fell in love, and this is the replacement.
Yeah, as always, circumstances can change at the drop of a dime. We see it in sports, no matter what sport it is, all the time. Now, I know in the past you're a firm believer that unless it's Aaron Rodgers or, some otherworldly quarterback, you shouldn't dictate a huge number of your cap to the quarterback position. So with that being said, do you think there is someone out there who they can sign or trade for at a bargain, or do you think they should look to improve that position through the draft?
I think they got to do both. They need an entirely new quarterback room. So what I would do, I wouldn't go for Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's an excellent quarterback, but he's not one of the 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the world who will win 9-10 games a season no matter what, no matter who is hurt, what happened to the defense. That's Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. That's it. If you don't have one of those 4 guys and you're spending $35 million on a quarterback, you're not necessarily going to have a winning team. So what I would do is I would try to get Mitchell Trubisky if he's available. He may not be available. He's doing really well. The Bears might keep him. If not him, sign a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, Andy Dalton, who I think would be pretty good with this defense and this run game, and George Kittle. I mean, who wouldn't? Just a starting caliber quarterback, and then draft someone. That's the plan.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick, that's an interesting name. He's a guy who usually wins, It's not flashy, but he usually is effective. Now, going to the defense, that was still a bright spot of the team this year. Fred Warner, obviously, was the leader of that team. What do you think his status will be going forward? Do you think they're going to give him that big monster deal that he probably deserves based on his pay?
I think they're probably prepared to give him $18 million a year, which is a whole lot. It's more than Eric Armstead. It would make him the highest paid defensive player on the team, and he deserves to be that. If I were his agent, I'd ask for 20. I'd want him to not just be the highest paid defensive player on the team. I think he should be, if I were his agent, the highest paid middle linebacker in the NFL. And the thing is, I think negotiations with the 49ers and DeForest Buckner last year broke down over a few $1 million. I think the Niners were okay giving him about 18 million and he wanted 21. So what happens if that happens again with Fred Warner? He says, you know what, I think I'm worth 21 million. And the Niners say, yeah, we're not going over 18. You'd hate to think that they would trade another young up and coming stud leader of their team. So I don't want to be negative, but that's something to watch out for.
All right, Grant, outside of the quarterback position, what is the biggest position of need for the Niners to address in this upcoming draft?
Oh boy. Offensive line. I really think that Mike McGlinchey has regressed and is not being made to look bad. He's that bad. They also need a center. And you know what? They may need an edge rusher too. Nick Bosa's coming off a serious knee injury. D Ford may never play again, or probably won't play for the 49ers again. They could really use an edge rusher, but it seems to me that Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt twice this year. Nick Mullins got hurt once. It may not matter which quarterback you bring in next year if they can't fix the pass protection. So they gotta do something about that offensive line, Jason.
Right, and last question, since this is a 49ers show, let's keep it in the NFC West. Does any team, the Rams or the Seahawks, have a chance to represent this division and ultimately the conference in the Super Bowl?
The Seahawks, not the Rams, because the Rams quarterback is Jared Goff, and he's one of these guys I'm talking about who is making all this money to be a top 5 quarterback and isn't a top 5 quarterback. He's going to hold that team back. Russell Wilson will give the Seahawks a chance to win every single week, no matter who they got. And all of a sudden, the last month or two, their defense has really stepped up. You give Russell Wilson a defense, they're tough. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to come out of the NFC, but that's the team with the best chance.
All right, there you have it. Those are our keys to the game. I want to thank Grant Cohn one more time for hanging tough with us all season long. We really appreciate you here at the Red and Gold Zone.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure all season.
All righty, there you have it. Those are our keys to the game.